Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Your gun doctor here, looking awake once and all. We have something to talk about, and that is the Bizon versus the Bullfrog. Usually when someone mentions the Bizon to me, it's, what are you talking about? The Bullfrog does everything the Bizon does better. Why would you even mention, why would you even mention the Bizon to me? But more and more people keep bringing this gun up because they've been having good success with it in the comments below. And you know what? If a lot of people bring something up, it might at least be worth to throw an eye on it. And something I instantly noticed that I really discarded early on always. We know that the Bullfrog with 3 headshots and 4 body shots can land a 479 milliseconds time to kill. And the 3 headshots are relatively easy to achieve on the Bullfrog, and that up to 15 meters. The Bizon, if you do actually land 3 headshots, you only need 3 body shots. And the very good thing is that it does the same damage on every single body part, also up to 14 meters, 15 meters. 3 headshots, 459 milliseconds time to kill. So actually a faster time to kill with lower shots in total that you have to hit. And that kind of bamboozled me because I wasn't aware that the Bizon has such a high headshot multiplier of 55. So it does have a significant good time to kill, but can it keep up with the no recoil of the Bullfrog? Because that's what I've never really tested on the Bizon. So if we go for the standard Bullfrog, that's what we're going to be playing for. And it obviously does also have the insane movement. And now that's obviously the question. Can we have the Bizon reproduce what the Bullfrog has to offer? The super movement speed, the super strafe speed, the everything. We'll be going into Plunder and we're testing some recoils. I mean, we're probably going to be here going for nothing. I mean, you could go for the steel for the damage range, bull velocity, and recoil control, but that would reduce your movement speed. So more you could go for the Polygonal to actually not reduce your movement speed because we don't want that. If we want to keep up in any way, we'd probably have to increase our movement. But with the no stock, you usually do introduce quite an amount of shakiness on the gun. There might be a 5 milliwatt laser happening, so that could be interesting because then the Bizon here would actually have some insane hipfire potential. We do have a base good mag, so there's no need for a mag. Then most likely monolithic suppressor to squeeze out the little bit of extra range to increase that to 20 meters roughly. And then last but not least, probably a stipple grip tape. Now we'll have to see if that does actually do the trick movement wise. Can it keep up with the Bullfrog? Can it be like strafing as good or not? Is the Polygonal the vibe, or are we going to go for the steel? Let's dive in and see how the hipfire behaves, how the rest of the gun behaves, how the einsight is. Is there actually alternative einsights on the gun too with different blueprints? Let's go. Okay, this is our Bullfrog. We know it, like 15 meter Bullfrog beams, no problem. You just hit every single shot. It's not really hard to actually hit your shots with the Bullfrog. Then hipfire with the Bullfrog. You don't do it often because you obviously do want to hit the headshots with the Bullfrog, but let's say you're just actually jumping up close and personal to someone. You might start like this and then do this. So that's like how the Bullfrog goes. Now, with the movement speed and with the strafe of the Bullfrog does a really good, like from a strafe perspective, as you can see. There are guns that strafe faster, and the overall movement speed is also plenty good. Now, when it comes down to the Bizon, I think from a mere normal movement speed perspective, it does actually do decisively good, especially on top of that. It does have a base of 64 rounds. So the Bizon has a base of 50 rounds, and this has a base of 64 rounds, which is plenty good, to be honest. Poor guy got killed, brought me loot, thank you. Now, if we're looking at the hipfire of this gun, though, oh my Lanta. oh my Lanta. That's the 10 meter hipfire compared to the, 3 meter hipfire of the Bullfrog. That actually surprises me. It's like, you're never going to hipfire with this, but honestly, from jumping around the corner and you're standing here, I could literally just shoot in your head. And it's kind of funny like this. That's actually plenty crazy. I like that. Okay, so the ADS time is obviously also really fast. Little downside, well, actually not a little downside. The strafe shooting is good too. But how now on 15 meters can you control the recoil? Because we all do know that the no stock acts a significant portion of wibble wobble in comparison. And if you're trying to shoot the gun now, it is definitely more unruly than what the Bullfrog has to offer. I mean, the Bullfrog on the same distance, just compare that, right? The thing though is we could replace the no stock potentially through a normal ADS bonus stock to see how much that does good for us to turn this then into a laser. The ADS time is good on the gun in comparison, like, you know, we have the same. The sprint to fire is more or less the same. The damage obviously is way higher on the Bizon, which surprises me. But now let's try without the no stock. Obviously, the shake that you have also is not the big of a problem if we're talking about close up and personal, but you're going to be doing the 10-meter shots with this gun because that's what this gun can just do very good, because it does have a decent bullet velocity and everything. So let's give it a go. When it comes down to the stocks, we have two options. Close quarter combat stock is roughly the same ADS minus as the no stock does, but it doesn't give movement speed. Then you also have the Corvus skeleton stock, which also introduce aim walk movement speed. So you would actually, while you're aiming, strafe a little bit faster. So let's try the skeleton stock here. Obviously the ADS time bonus that you get is a bit weaker and you don't get the movement speed. Now maybe someone on controller can tell me in the comments below how controller feels with the no stock, because for me it definitely doesn't seem like an option. Okay, the ADS time is still good. You do notice the minus of movement speed. It should be like 2-3% that you're having. But now let's see when you're shooting this on 15 meters, how does it feel? And funnily enough, it does feel actually the same. Not much changes on this gun. Like the whole feeling on it is pretty much the same. You do lose some hip fire. That's like the thing. I would argue that it's actually no big difference between the no stock and the normal shooting. The gun just does feel very shaky in the inside, which is pretty much what it is. I mean, like, you know, worst case, what could go wrong? Might just have to get used to that, but definitely tell me in the comments below, like, controller wise, what this is doing. Let's see if the different barrel maybe introduces a little bit of a more smooth shooting. So you put the no stock on because the shake of the no stock wasn't really much worse than what we have here right now. And then also put the bigger barrel on, because the bigger barrel had the option to damage range, bullet velocity, and some recoil control. So maybe if we put that on together with no stock, it just feels better. But right now I would just go with the Polygonal and feel good about it, because I don't see like why we would do anything else. So now we kind of get a movement speed bonus from the no stock, but at the same time, the barrel is introducing a movement speed minus. So it's like kind of back and forth, like negating each other's. I mean, the ADS time plus of the barrel versus the ADS time minus of the no stock, plus minus the recoil. It's kind of like weird to do this because you're doing like the counterpart of each other. And I would not say the gun feels in any way more stable or not. The gun feels good, but I wouldn't necessarily say more stable. Like if we're comparing this hats to hats, that's my shake here, right? And that's my shake here. And that's my shake here. In both cases, it's kind of like the same. So I would argue the Polygonal was the best. Now, there's one last thing you can try that usually helps with the shakiness of guns, and that would be a muzzle break. I put the no stock off because the no stock, like I'd say, increases shakiness by 5 to 10%. So now with the no stock, it does feel the least wibble wobble. I mean, it still goes from the left to the right, like it dances a little bit. You know, that's kind of like what you see on the Bizon right now when you're shooting it. It just goes like this taka-taka from the left to the right. But apart from that, you know, apart from going for the taka-taka left to the right and then having no recoil, the muzzle break does definitely make it feel better. Also, if you do use a muzzle break over a monolithic, yes, you lose 10% range, which is okay. But you're actually gaining also ADS time, because the muzzle break has like, I don't know, 1/4 of the ADS time minus that the monolithic suppressor has. So that's quite good. So if you can get used to not playing a monolithic, you can definitely play a muzzle break. The muzzle break does also work with a no stock, but it is definitely more shaky than without the skeleton stock. So that's kind of like something you could potentially be looking at. Now, what does it bring us to? Polygonal, muzzle break, 5 milliwatt laser, Corvus skeleton stock, and stipple grip tape, or here, actually the no stock. Also, you could technically put up the stipple grip tape because it's only an 8 millisecond of ADS time, and you could technically work with the GI mini reflex. So that is not a downside. You could work with the GI mini reflex, and I think if you're working with the GI mini reflex, because that helps for the target acquisition, you could definitely go for the monolithic suppressor also. But you could obviously try the muzzle break if that just makes the gun feel best for you. So these are kind of like the option: monolithic suppressor together with the no stock, also the stipple grip tape. It has some shake. It might be perfect on controller. Definitely tell me me, controller boys, how do you feel about this? And then also you could be going for the muzzle break together with this. You could go for the muzzle break with the Corvus skeleton stock. And last but not least, you could go for the no stock, put the stippled off, and then play a GI mini reflex, then with either the monolithic or the muzzle break. But this is really now, what does the gun feel good for you? Does the gun feel great like this already? Do you need the mini reflex to hit more of the headshots? How does it now feel? No matter what, the hipfire is better than what the Bullfrog has to offer. The movement speed is great. The strafing is fine. And you also do a lot of damage. And I'm really surprised at how good this gun actually is. We'll definitely have for you a BBizon gameplay video dropping after this. So today was just the talk. Generally, can the BBizon actually keep up with the Bullfrog? And it seems like it can. But we'll be doing some gameplay probably on Rebirth Island too, because that's where the Bullfrog really shines. And that's where then the BBizon would have to compete versus it. Ladies and gentlemen, what are your thoughts so far? Drop it in the comments below. Again, in the last 3, 4, 5 days, people have been nonstop talking about the BBizon. Someone said the BBizon is actually better on controller than the Bullfrog is. And now that's what kind of sparked this to see how good can this actually be on mouse and keyboard. Can we make it work? Can we make it the same no recoil as the Bullfrog has? Plus then the damage that the BBizon anyways deals, which is quite crazy, but you do need to hit those 3 headshots for the super low time to kill. But I do believe this gun could be it. This gun could be something that does actually work. And I'm more than bamboozled that it actually does as good as it does. So thanks for commenting. Thanks for inspiring some of these videos as you do, because content is content and content is always wished for. And if you bring an idea to the table, that is more than appreciated. I wish you a fantastic good day. Don't forget to subscribe if you're on the way back for more analytics, gameplay, and other shenanigans. Wish you a fantastic good day. See you in the next video.